Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome. It's Thursday Morning Live. I'm excited, super excited about this morning. Actually, I had another guest who had an emergency this morning, and he emailed me early this morning. I scrambled, found a fill-in. So if you're here this morning for the first time, or you were here this morning to listen to Dave Horbecki, and I am sorry, Dave had that emergency this morning, and we're going to get him rescheduled. But I'm really excited about my guest, and we'll get to Lisa in a minute. But hey, remember, I start every week, right? We talk about intentions. It's Thursday morning. How's your week been going? What are your intentions for today? What are your intentions for the rest of the week? What have you been working on? How are you trying to grow? What are you doing in your life education wise? And you know me, I'm the question guy. So I want to ask enough questions to get your mind thinking, to get your mind moving around where you're at in your life and how you're going to be able to progress. Hey, we're going to talk about property management this morning. But before that, this show is brought to you by My Core Intentions. And this year, our multifamily summit is October 20th through the 22nd. And I want you to know that this is going to be the biggest virtual event of the year in the multifamily space. From what I've seen virtually, what I've been a part of virtually, this event's going to be huge. I have 20 speakers. Lisa actually will be one of the speakers that we'll talk about that a little bit more today. And I'm going to have speakers like Bronson Hill, who's going to tell us how to raise $12 million in capital in 12 months. I'm going to have speakers like Patrick Grimes, who's going to talk to us about some market dynamics. I'll have speakers like Brian Briscoe, who's going to talk about leaving a lifelong career to jump into multifamily and scale a portfolio. So if you are a new investor in the multifamily space, if you're a new investor, make sure you get registered and get to this event. Go to multifamily22.com and get registered. All right, my guest this morning, Lisa Russell from North Carolina. She is in the property management space. Let me bring her in, and she can tell us about her. Hey, Lisa.
Hey, Mike. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. I got to tell you, I'm just so grateful that you were able to jump on in the spur of the moment here this morning. I figured when I texted you this morning, I said, oh, she's on the East Coast. She can fill in. So I'm glad that I was able to catch you.
Absolutely. Mike, you know that I'm always listening into your lives when I can and kind of following and stalking you on LinkedIn. And so when you invited me on to speak at the conference as well as jump on today, any opportunity to work with you, I'm going to take it.
Yeah, great. I appreciate it. So Lisa, before we get started, one thing I always ask my guests, and I'm going to be interested to go back on your podcast that you did with me about, I don't know, a year ago and see if it's the same answer. But the one question I always ask my guests is, in one word, what best describes you personally and professionally?
So, Mike, I think the word that I used was tenacious, and that is my word. And you and I discussed that was also your word. So I think that's something that I think once you have that characteristic, it doesn't really change a year later, 5 years later, 10 years later. My answer is going to always be tenacious, right?
And I love that, right? I mean, because really that's my word too. And I think that I remember having that discussion with you because, it's important that we be tenacious, especially, what's interesting right now is, and Lisa, you and I both been in real estate a long time. And so I'm not going to try and date either one of us here, but
no, I'm happy to earn the 35 years that I've been in it, just for the simple reason of I've earned those 35 years.
Yeah. And you know what? You got me beat by a few, that's for sure. So, but I always look at it like this, the last couple of years we came out of this bull run market, right? For maybe the last 30 months or so. Real estate's been hot. As a real estate agent, you could probably walk into an office, sign up on a call list, a buyer walk in, just be able to do business, really kind of be an order taker. And there's, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can function well. But I think now the market's changing, and the market's changing to a point that, people are going to have to go to work. They're going to have to, make it known that they're realtors. They're going to have to go out there and do the work. The same thing with us and what we do. We gotta dig out there and find good opportunities, find good deals. So, Lisa, give people a little bit of background about what you do and what you're doing these days.
Sure, Mike. I started out in on campus in student housing, and did about 10 years of student housing at 5 different universities. So that was where I really understood, having people living with you 24/7 in university environments. And but moving into the conventional space, starting to work for large multi-family companies, I've managed over 16 states. And when you start to see that kind of diversity over multiple states, and you see the commonalities and the differences of each, maybe law or just cultural differences in how the property management is and what the space looks like. So more of that has developed for me into more asset management as well, really looking at the higher levels of CapEx and where our budgets are going, how we're structuring deals. But I'm currently working for a company that has found really great opportunities here in North Carolina. And so I've helped them jump into the space, but they've sourced some deals that these owners had these properties 25 years. So when you're getting 25-year owners that are now ready to sell, exit the market at the perfect time, right? Those deals are everywhere. So I say that because a lot of people are looking for the shiny, new, pretty, whatever it is. And there's owners out there with 25 years holding 200 to 400 units that are ready to let it go. So like you said, digging in, being tenacious, finding those deals is why I'm so optimistic for the next 2 years, especially on deals that I think are going to start popping up into the market that we have not had a chance to see in a long time. So I think that's one of the biggest opportunities that I'm focused on, is getting these assets completely turned around in 60 days.
Yeah. And our group, Lisa, is always looking for those opportunities. So if any of those opportunities come up with those mom and pops that have owned those for that number of years, you know who to call on that, right?
Exactly. Mike, I know for a fact you've helped me many times just quickly look at some underwriting and some numbers. And I use a lot of my gut feel. You go straight to the numbers and say, Lisa, your gut was right, or this is what we need to do. So I will always keep you in the loop, Mike.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Hey, listen, you mentioned something very interesting about the next couple of years, right? I think right now we're hearing a lot of people, and I wouldn't want to say, some doomsday experts saying that the world, that this is all going to turn upside down and there's going to be problems. But I think you and I have been in the business long enough where we look at it maybe a little differently, where we say, opportunity, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people say, oh, I don't want to do anything. I'm going to sit on the sidelines right now. In reality, sitting on the sidelines doesn't get you anywhere. Use your capital, right? Because right now is a great time to be looking and buying real estate, whether you're doing residential, whether you're doing multifamily. And Lisa, you and I have been doing multifamily long enough that we both know that, that's the place to be because of the economies of scale.
Correct. I mean, definitely. As I said, why I'm optimistic about it is I'm on the operations side, right? Assets, operations, making sure that we have what we need in place. And we've got some great, and what we're going to talk about at the summit is some great technology that's coming in, AI technology specifically, that is helping property management that will fill in the gaps in some of these situations. We didn't have those in the 90s. We had pure human raw power trying to calculate it all out. Now we have data matrix, we have business intelligence, we have prop tech, we have fintech, we have it all. And a lot of people don't know, but we haven't even tested some of that in true form. And that's what I'm excited about as well. So imagine that these new products that have come out in the last 5 years are now going to be truly tested over the next, let's just say, 5 years. So that is where our industry, I think you'll see some big advances.
Yeah, for sure. And I love what you're talking about. And just kind of giving people a little prelude here of what you're going to be talking about at the summit. And I think people who are owning and operating real estate, whether it's multifamily, whether it's commercial assets, whatever the asset class is, the operation side is such a big deal, right? Because if it's not operating properly, if the NOI is not being grown month after month or year after year, you're really not performing at a level that you should be performing at. One of the other things that you talk about that I find very interesting is this fraud aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And talk a little bit about that, what you're seeing in the market and how that affects the owner operators.
So identity theft is going to be the next or is the hottest topic that people aren't talking about. But I say that because nobody wants to talk about the fact that they may have just filled their new deal, or their previous management may have just filled the deal they just purchased with fraudulent applicants. And we're talking not just your mom and pop, I faked a paycheck. We're talking organizational structured fraudulent activity happening, probably in the tune of billions already in our industry. And it's going to take AI to help us actually do background checks properly. It's going to take AI to actually scrub identities from probably multi sources. And we're going to end up with some sort of encrypted, probably passport oriented type ID for renters. It's coming. I've been talking to and on advisory boards for multiple properties. So I say that because you want to know.
That's a tenant calling right now.
Oh, you want to know. You do want to know who your people are and who you're renting to.
Right. Absolutely. Always very important. What are you seeing in the market? And I think you guys didn't you just say you took on another 375 unit asset?
Yes. So just took it on last week. We are in the process of, of course, walking in every unit again, making sure that that the rent roll is correct, and just doing the basic cleanup, staff training, and that type of thing. But 375 units outside of the Raleigh market, where people are commuting into Raleigh, it has not seen the light of day for 20 years.
Wow.
So we literally, they had the office closed for 2 years straight. They had not opened the office back since COVID, and we're doing minimal what they could do to stay open for the last 2 years. So we opened those doors, and the first week probably leased 5 or 6 apartments, and exciting enough, have had trouble keeping up with the new make ready turns with the demand, and that's with increases of anywhere to 30 to 40%.
Wow, that's crazy. I can't believe that they actually had the office closed for 2 years on a complex that size.
Yep.
So when you take over a property, the first 30 to 60 days, what are the most important things that you look at takeover when you guys bring an asset on?
So I do a lot of things. One, I also drive the area in the little town that I'm in. I usually stay in that town a good month to get to know the culture of the town. People say, "Why are you on that asset for that long? The first 30 days?" I said, "It's not the asset. It's what surrounds the asset. I have to know the locals. I have to get to know the vendors. I have to speak their language." And so that's one of the first things I do. The first 30 days, I make a lot of friends and make sure that I know what's my clientele going to be really targeting and how quickly can I get other people to help me with that. The second thing on the asset itself is really areas that need attention immediately. This pool had a large crack. Here we are in September, and I'm losing 2 inches of water a day.
Oh my,
Okay. Some people think, okay, you should have got that in due diligence. Absolutely. But some of these things came up in the last 90 days since the pool was open, and the deal was happening. So now I've got to pull a vendor of mine from South Carolina to come in and do major renovations on the pool that wasn't even budgeted. So
wow.
some of those things you have to take care of business immediately, and other things you can make a strategic long-term plan. But my team's in there now, literally in some cases scrubbing baseboards and cleaning office and decorating, or they may be setting up a new filing system and making sure that we have an accurate count of the vacant and down units, because those down units are the gold. Those, some of them were down 13 years. So I'm going to put them back in play.
I love that. And I love it. You walk in an asset like that and you go, man, there's just nothing but opportunity here. So,
Absolutely.
I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and I mentioned that I think that there's two groups of people that we really affect when we take over one of these assets. And that's the shareholders, that's our investors, that's our limited partners, the people who put the capital up. We really affect their lives when we take over these assets because we're trying to improve their life, help them financially, right? To
Right.
create short-term wealth, to create long-term or short-term cash flow and long-term wealth. And so we really affect their lives. But the other group of people, I think, is equally, if not even more important, and that's the stakeholders, the community around the property. I love what you talked about, getting to know the culture. So how do I take this asset now? How do I blend it into the culture? How do I do the curb appeal and the upgrades and put new tenants in here that are going to make the neighborhood better? How am I going to increase, the profitability for the rest of the neighborhood? The small little grocery store on the corner, right?
Yeah. Who's going to talk my business? That's the people that are owning. The little girl I met that runs the bakery, right? And that bakery has, you talk about tenacious, she's been fighting through, since I think 2008 or 2009, and building her little bakery. Well, I want to use her, and I know my residents will too. So I met her, and I go in and have a cup of coffee, get a cookie, and find out what's going on in town, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's the stuff that we miss out sometimes if you're just in your computer or sitting in an office.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. I can't wait to come out and check out the bakery.
Yeah, exactly. But come on out. I think
Hey,
that's the thing, you guys, is once we get out there, once we really can feel that need, my websites, my targeted marketing, all of that is going to have that local feel. Even though, we may be operators that are in, multiple states, and some of these small towns, they know we're not normally, they can tell by my accent I'm not East Carolinian, right?
yeah,
But
right.
but those are the fun parts is that I've really enjoyed, and I tell you, it is a market that is still fresh. It's nice to have that feeling, Mike. Sometimes we're in these big metroplex areas that I feel like been there, done that,
Right.
and these smaller markets have really started to shine for us.
Yeah, awesome. So Lisa, I'm really excited. You're going to be speaking at the summit coming up in
Yes.
October. And boy, we have a packed 3 days, that's for sure. There's over my marketing guy said, "Hey, do you know you have 30 speakers?" I said, "I do."
Yeah,
So
30.
like,
Wow.
we have like 3 panels going on,
Yes.
and we have well over 20 speakers, and I'm super excited about you and what you're going to be talking about. I know people that are operation on the operation side are going to take it, be able to take advantage of your knowledge, your experience, as well as owners, that are going into the business. You're going to give a lot of systems, techniques, and ideas that people can implement. And here's what I always say about these events, right?
Right.
You can, if you walk away with one nugget of information, and from our side, if we touch one person and help them see something different, man, we make a difference. And you never know what that one nugget can do as a difference in somebody's life. I can't encourage people enough to partake in this, and you don't have to travel, right? It's virtual.
Right.
So that's what's
Right.
even cooler about the whole thing.
Yeah, I agree, Mike. And I think that that's one of the things going into the summit myself. I'm looking forward to learning that golden nugget. And and I want key takeaways that there'll be notes when how I can go for 30 minutes, but the main thing that I want is I want content value, and I want to make sure that we have really hit some key things that need to be out there in regards to fraud and application fraud, identity theft, that kind of thing. But more importantly, how are you viewing your asset newly in 2022? Stop using 2002, 2008 eyes. Let's get fresh eyes on it. Let's look at what we've got in a way that we can really use not only the combination of knowledge and skill, but technology to help us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, I really appreciate you taking time this morning. I know you need to get to the office, and thank you for filling in and being here. I'm going to move you to the back room. And
okay, absolutely. No, it's a pleasure, Mike.
Say goodbye to everybody. Hang out with me for a minute.
Sure.
Lisa, how do people get a hold of you if they want to connect?
The best way is really right there on LinkedIn. I know that I make several comments on your pages, but I know that I'm Lisa Russell there on LinkedIn. I have Meta Leasing as one of my personal management companies that I have. You make these search by Meta Leasing, but if not, I do know that if you find Mike, you found me.
Awesome. Well, Lisa, thank you again. Hey, everybody. If you want to connect with Lisa, you can find her on LinkedIn. If you can't find her, find me, and I'll get you connected with her. Lisa, hang on 1 minute. I'm going to move you to the back. Just hang out with me. Hey, everybody. That was awesome this morning. Boy, I'll tell you what, somebody who's been in the business as long as Lisa, as long as I have, we have these nuggets. We have this information. We have these stories that you can glean from, right? Where you can grow and you can get more information to help move your business along. Jim Rohn said years ago, success leaves clues. And by following successful people, by listening to them, by taking that one golden nugget that you can walk away with and implement into your business is going to help you grow. So Lisa's going to be speaking at the summit, the summit is October 20th through the 22nd. It's a virtual event. So no matter where you are, you can register for the event. Go to multifamily22.com, get signed up today. You're going to want to make sure you have your space. And based on what Lisa said, she's going to give a lot of information. We have a workbook you'll get that you'll be able to take notes in, some great speakers, some great content. Everybody, I hope you have a great day, a great week, and we will look forward to seeing you again next week. Remember, we're here every Thursday